All right, everybody, welcome to the Start, Build, Grow Show. We are covering a topic today that has been a buzzword and a big topic in our space for a long time. And we're going to talk all about solar and how to bridge the gap and how roofing contractors can look into going into the solar world. And we have an expert that's been in the business a long time that's going to share a lot of the ins and outs on how to dive into solar. So join us. We're excited to have you here in just a moment here on the Start, Build, Grow Show.
JobNimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
Stop driving job site to job site or texting and emailing photos. Know what's happening across your business. Get started for free today.
All right, everybody, welcome in. We are here with Gina Farese, a resident solar expert. We've had a chance to really chat, and she has been in the solar industry for a while and has offered to come in and share some of the little secrets on how to get in the solar industry, some tips and tricks. And I'm looking forward to just kind of pick her brain as well. And this comes up a lot in our industry right now, and in roofing space. A lot of roofing contractors are asking about solar and trying to learn about solar. So we're going to dive into that. But first off, in traditional fashion, let's get to know our guest here. Gina Farese, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in this industry. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. But old-fashioned Italian father, got literally kicked into the field, and I started my career ripping roofs, roofing roofs, cleaning up garbage, learning everything from the bottom up. And I got out here really early. Wall Street wasn't for me. I didn't love it out there when I started there. So I got out here, and all in all, I literally learned from the bottom up, and that's why. There's so many disconnects in our industry from roofing and solar. You'd think that they're industries that should work hand in hand, but I'm out of New York, so I own a roofing company. I took over about 2 years ago. We do large volume roofing, wholesale and retail. And back in 2011, we were one of the only contractors locally when a hailstorm hit in New York that knew how to do insurance work. So
Yep.
We handled that. We learned that end of it. I ended up becoming a licensed public adjuster. And then solar kind of really surfaced here. And everybody was so adamant about these solar companies teaming up with roofing companies because they wanted the leads. And while that would make sense for a business model for a solar company, it didn't really make sense for a roofing contractor all the time. They were thinking, hey, we'll get the work. And it was the same mentality I had until I really got into it and realized the disconnects with it. So back during COVID was when we launched our solar division, and our solar division really was geared towards more service and installation work. So I'm not sure if everyone in the industry is used to the term an EPC, where you're really more of an installations arm for the solar companies.
Yep. Well, let's and people definitely have heard that quite a bit, but let's go ahead and for those of you who aren't familiar with what EPC stands for and what exactly that arrangement is. Let's press in there a little bit.
So basically, the EPC, we're the labor outfit. These sales entities are handling everything. An EPC, you handle engineering, procurement, and the construction of the project. So basically, you have these paper sales reps that are going out there. They say, "Hey, solar is a great thing. We can learn how to do this." And a lot of solar companies are paper sales companies. So they'll hand things off to us and as the installations arm, and we can handle everything from the engineering, so all of the planning, permitting, interconnection, PTO, which is permission to turn the system on, the procurement of actually getting the panels, getting the BOS, the balance of systems, and getting the electrical handled, pulling the electrical permits, closing those out, and then the actual physical construction, getting the glass on the roof.
Yep.
And, it's been interesting because over the years, so many contractors, so many solar contractors, and actually so many homeowners have been like, well, wouldn't it just make more sense for the roofer to put the holes in the roof, right? So, like, you want this comfort of you're getting a bunch of holes put in your roof, and then everyone's saying, oh, well, where does that leave my roof warranty? Where does this leave me as, where does it leave my roofing contractor on their warranty as a whole? Where does it leave with the manufacturer? And then what happens with the solar companies? Are they qualified? Do they have roofing knowledge? So that's what kind of where our solar division was born. And we said, all right, well, we're going to get more into the solar end of things, not because we want to sell and compete, but we want the ability to physically do the installations. And we really started out with a service division, and the servicing, to be able to pull systems, replace the roof, and reinstall the systems. You're dealing with dormers and extensions, guys that are building and need to redesign systems, re-engineer them. And then, you've got so many companies that have come out here selling solar, and they put no critter guards or the pest traps around the systems, and that's what's causing a lot of the system fires, because the pests get underneath it, and you end up with issues there. So there were so many different things that directed us to say, hey, this would make a lot of sense, because they want the roofer to handle every end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the solar companies care more about selling the solar, so they stay in their lane with that. But as I mentioned to you earlier, I own a lot of different divisions and a lot of different companies in this sector of the industry. And the one that I'm most excited and most proud of is called Roofs for Solar, because the reality is that as roofing contractors, the solar companies are trying to get into our realm, right? They are by default going to get in it, but
Yeah.
I'm in a market in New York where nobody is using cap fasteners on their underlayments, and it is our local code. It is a manufacturer's spec on 95% of the underlayments.
Are they just stapling, or how are they installing it?
Just stapling. And I
Wow.
reached out to 5 different suppliers to see how much are they actually selling of the, whether it's Stinger cap nails or, any of them. And everyone's like, listen, nobody's enforcing it here. It's the wild, wild west in New York. They don't enforce roof permitting is not required here. But so you look at that, and you got the local reps of these manufacturers saying, well, if you're covering it the same day, you don't need it. That's not what tech support's going to tell me when there's a problem with that roof potentially. And so to me, that's a big issue, because now these solar companies are getting these roofs put up, and they're looking clearly for the cheapest price, but they don't know what to look for. And they're getting, bad advice. So what we built is a company. I have a partner in Colorado that we work with. We built out a division called Roofs for Solar. And what we actually do is we build roof divisions for solar companies. We keep the solar companies in their lane of selling solar, and we run everything from the estimating portion to our whole back office does everything of quality control. We vet this. We hire the roofing subcontractors. We vet their insurances properly. We do all the coordination for them. So it gives them an opportunity to work in the sector, not to take the roofing work away from the solar industry, but it's to level the playing field to make sure that it's being done correctly. Because anyone can go out and work off the back of a truck and offer a really low price, and then they're going to put the solar on top of it. That's ruining both the roofing and solar industry for all of us, because what people are having is nothing but issues. My solar division on the service side, if you hear how many times people say, I wish I never went solar, that is the last thing we want people saying. But the reason is because people like myself, I went into this, shockingly enough, I was a roofing contractor for a solar company. I had over $30,000 in damage in my own house because the solar company messed my roof up.
And so, and that's interesting how, you're hearing that so much. And obviously that would, the public, this is more of a, contractor show, but like the public that should not be the public sentiment. Like the whole point is to improve our life, improve our home, and do what's right by the environment and save money and all the things, right? All the positive things. And what's the biggest reason? It's because of just not doing proper installations, or what caused all that damage?
Lack of education. They're installing. I mean, I could pull up picture after picture of, you know, roofs installed. Our local code max is 2 layers here. I've had to pull systems off of 3, 4, and 5 layer roofs that they just didn't do their inspection. I've had wood shake underneath roofs that they put solar on top of. I've had shingles on a 2 pitch or I've had shingles on a 1 pitch that were, you know, architectural shingles that they're like, hey, why did this ceiling just collapse? Well, I don't know. You guys obviously don't know what you're looking at with the roofing product, and there should be some sort of connection between the two. And there is no education, or there is no connection between the roofing and solar industry. There is no room for the solar industry to be properly educated. It was interesting. We just actually had a video that went viral on social media, and I was getting clobbered by roofing contractors. And basically they were saying stuff like, what happened was we pulled the system off, a solar system off of a roof that was leaking. It caused $18,000 of damage in the interior of the guy's house. Mm-hmm. And they basically racked the architectural shingles like a 3-tap shingle and put every bracket in the keyways. And the roofers were like, there's nothing wrong with that installation. I'm like, well, show me a spec. Maybe I'm wrong, but show me a spec. In all the years I'm doing it, there's 2 different installation methods, you know, one for architectural, one for 3-tab. And so, you know, it's really been difficult because you've got people who see, you know, almost a money tree. And the issue is we as roofers need to come in here and either come in from an educational standpoint, or we're already at the table where we say, hey, listen, this is what I'm hearing. I mean, I don't sell solar simply because I service it, and I run roof divisions for local solar companies here. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't want to bite the hands that feed me. But everywhere else in the nation, I just got back from the Owens Corning Platinum Conference, and that was like our big topic too. And everybody's like, we're at the table. Why would people not want the roofer putting in the brackets? And then you actually can outsource a lot of this engineering and procurement, and we can do the actual install. Why would roofing contractors not want to get into this end? But you know, I'm big on this whole idea of a blue ocean, and not fighting over the same bait that everyone else is. When you talk about the service sector from a roofing standpoint, the service sector, there is, you know, people try and sell solar as there's no maintenance. There's absolutely maintenance involved in it. And if you can get an understanding of how to maintain these systems and how to go after the things the solar companies don't want, you open up so many avenues and doors from other angles.
So what, you know, I've been in, as we chatted, like I've dove headfirst into the solar world as well, and now we have a full solar installation company and a roofing company for a number of years. So I'm in both sides as well, and from my entrepreneurial perspective, I saw it as an opportunity. Okay, sure, I'm a roofing contractor. We're in a little bit of a slow market. The energy rates are going up. There's all this buzz on solar. Let's look into that and let's start selling solar. Went down that path. Most roofers kind of join and fall into that section of, I can sell roofs. Why not start selling solar, right? So it makes sense. Go do that. But what I found was that the installation, and unfortunately, just like in roofing, there's good roofers and there's roofers that don't do so great.
Correct.
And I'm not the type of person to go out and be like, they're all terrible. They don't do it. It's just a lack of education, right? I believe people don't start roofing companies with the intention of doing bad business practices and ripping people off. I believe in humanity, that people genuinely want to do things the right way, right? But they just don't know what they don't know, and they get themselves into bad situations, and then unfortunately they maybe make some bad decisions or make some mistakes, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. And that's a big reason why some companies just ultimately go out of business and have issues. But I saw that there was a lot of logistical challenges from the solar side, even more so than roofing. And we coach and deal with a lot of roofing contractors all over the country, and most of us come into the business from a sales perspective or from a production. We were on a roof for a number of years when we started a roofing company. We were selling roofs and we decided to start a roofing company. But very few of us, and this is the same for solar as well, is very few of us have direct business operations and systems education. And I think there's a big challenge there, because roofing in and of itself, it's a systemized process. You have to create a system and do a process. But there's a lot of markets out there where it's not as regulated. You don't have permits, you don't have inspections like yours. Our market's a lot more heavier regulated. I mean, I'm coming to Colorado where we have 40 different building departments, and they show up, they're in the middle of the roof. They do mid-roof inspections, like it's highly regulated. But that same type of thing, we try to convert that to solar, and we have these bad practices, and we're used to this. Well, all I can do is just sell a bunch of roofs, roof a bunch of houses, and hope that the water sheds off, and I'll be fine, make a lot of money. Solar, we try to apply that same mindset to solar, and it becomes a total nightmare because there's so many more things. There's so much more like details and logistics and operational things that you got to have in place to be able to do it well, and then scale it up to do it at a high level. And I think you're absolutely right a minute ago when I think people kind of see it as this like, oh wow, I can just do this whole bunch and make a lot of money, and they forget so many steps of the building every little step of the process, and they just dive right in, and then all of a sudden we have messes. So both industries are a lot similar in that.
Yep.
And then now it's trying to meld together where it's causing a lot of challenges, but I think like you and I connect on this, it's creating opportunities.
It is great
Because
opportunities.
we are a logistics company. We're really, really, really good at operations. That's what we teach. We coach contractors. We teach them how to systemize a roofing business. And now we applied our own skill set to the solar business. And all of a sudden, all these doors are starting to open because they're like, wow, you can do this right. You can follow the process. You can get your interconnects done. You can get your permitting done. You can do the pre-inspections. You can get the engineering and all the things done and do it at a high level. It's creating incredible opportunity. So the moral of this whole story is systems and processes.
100%.
Like focus on creating one process after another. Find what's broken and fix it. Find what's broken and fix it. And walk before you run, right?
100%. The thing is that we're starting to see some interesting flip of how the market's working. So we're, as roofing contractors, saying, okay, there's opportunity in the solar market. And like I said, I specifically don't sell because I take away from my opportunities in the roofing market by becoming a competitor of a solar company, right? So I'd rather, a mistake I made at one point was that I was misunderstood of what I was trying to do when I opened up a solar division, and I guess I could nicely say I pissed some people off because they were like, wait, why is she doing this? She's getting in my way. And instead they didn't realize that what I was doing, because I was focusing on the service side, I was actually more of an asset to their business than a competitor. And I think part of the issue in solar is there's a lot of ego involved, shockingly a lot more than there is in roofing. And we deal with these guys that it's like they think that their territory is their territory, and instead of realizing that it's not all about the solar sale, right? So like there's things that come into play on a solar sale that you have to follow all these steps to get to interconnect, to get to PTO. I mean, there's so many steps, and I think that the solar companies really do a great job, a lot of them, on having that all figured out. I think that the issue comes into play is when they're trying to play in an avenue that they're not good at, aka starting their roof divisions. So now we're starting to see solar companies open up a roof division saying, hey, we don't want to hand off the roof to a roofing contractor. We want to do that in-house. And that's where a lot of these issues are coming into play, because they can't even assess whether a roof should be replaced or not replaced at the time of the sale to put solar on it. I mean, I drive home every day. I see a house that has a 3-tab roof that's at least 20 years old on top of wood shakes that they just put solar on about 6 months ago. And, you want to know why people are complaining. So there's still going to be that lack of education, because some of these people are so eager and so hungry to get more systems out, and just another system sold. They want to get them installed. Hey, is this roof, we'll limit the warranty here, or whatever the case may be. But they're not actually looking at the big picture on the liability that they're taking on. And what a lot of these companies that we're servicing are companies that sold a lot and went out of business. So now there is nobody holding those warranties anymore. And now a homeowner's left in a lurch that they have to now pull a system off of their house, replace the roof at their expense, and go reinstall it. So it's a big expense, and it's hurting, it's hurting people. It's hurting the real estate market. It's hurting, it's hurting homeowners overall. So for us to come out here from an educational standpoint and get people to understand what is a good roofing system, what does that look like before you put solar on the house? People aren't looking at roofing systems. We're talking about, I'm in a market where I fight this every single day where I got guys that say, oh, you're going to put drip edge on your house? Well, we don't like the way it looks on the rake, so we're not going to put it there. We're just going to put it at the eaves. Or we don't use drip edge at all. Or we're using it, but we're going to put it at the gutter edge and not put it on the rake ends. Well, guess what? Our code here says it's supposed to be at the roof perimeter. And it's supposed to be installed in two different manners on the roof perimeter. One at the gutter edge underneath the underlayments and on the rakes on top. Well, guess what? That's what every manufacturer says. So why are we having these situations where people are cutting these corners? A, they're trying to save money. B, because there's nobody enforcing it. And who are you hurting at the end of the day is the homeowner. So what I decided to do is say, hey, listen, I'm going to align myself with these solar companies, become an asset to them, help with education, help with teaching them, be their point of contact when they, God forbid, mess up their layout of a system and drill through the roof and they need repairs done and things like that. Or, a lot of solar companies won't touch a system that's not their own. So system removal and reinstallations are a great way to, get involved, because then you're first up at bat to be able to sell the roof there too. We've even seen, we've teamed up with other roofing contractors that other roofing contractors have been able to say, hey, we're gonna sell the roof, but can you handle the solar system removal and reinstall? So there's other
and I love you bring that up, because that's such a huge, I see another huge opportunity. So everybody's like, I got to grow my business, and the way I want to grow my business is just double my sales team, and then I'll just grow my business, right? Let's look at it from a different perspective. What if I were to be able to grow or increase my average job size for every job I do? So now, and you kind of work, obviously there's, and you know what, now I'm on a side note here, because why I love doing this show. I've done this for 4 years. We've interviewed contractors and people from all over the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast to the Midwest. And the reality is every market is different. They all have their own little nuances. And the way things are done in New York is totally different than the way things are done in Colorado, in Texas, and so in the Midwest. And right now, the Midwest is just been inundated over the last few months with hailstorm after hailstorm. So a lot of contractors who listen to this are in these hail markets that are trying to grow their business and take advantage of those opportunities. Which, congratulations, that's awesome. If you have that opportunity, great. Well, side note, I want to be married to it, but we still need to diversify our business in the off season and make sure we can handle different things. But some of them just avoid solar altogether. Like, well, I'm not going to knock that door because it has solar on it. But what we're not realizing is that's a way to increase your average job size significantly and your profitability by going after the jobs that have the DNR. But we're afraid of it. Roofers.
Yep.
We don't know the solar company might be like 6 months out. What happens if they come in and drill holes back in my new roof, and now it's the warranty issue? So we're like kind of afraid of that. But if you can really hone in and do it right, either partner with somebody who's a great installer, or you can start to learn how to do that yourself. There's such a huge opportunity for DNRs, which is one of the things that we've really put in a lot of energy into is, hey, we can come in, take the solar off, redo your entire roof, put the solar back on, get it all reconnected, re-engineer it if needed. And now you have a really, really nice system with great warranties for a long period of time. Oh, and by the way, for me as a contractor, I just increased my job by 30 to 50%.
Well, think about how many contractors are listening to your show that might work with other GCs and other remodelers, and all of a sudden that house has a dormer, they want to put a dormer and extension on it. I just had one that had 39 panels on the house, and they wanted to do a complete second story remodel and an extension. Now, obviously, the usage was going to go up because their square footage was going to potentially go up, but we did calculations to be able to, work with their architect right from the beginning, making sure that they were, we were focusing on putting in the right windows, putting in the right, spray foam, but still ventilating the roof the right way, and making sure that we were doing the layout so the design was, they were looking for a real farmhouse look. And how are we going to fit all these panels? We needed to work with the architect to redesign this house on whatever they wanted, but to also fit the system that was already on their house. I had the same situation on my own house. I had to, once I realized I had all this damage in my house, my husband and I said, like, all right, well, we might as well just redo the house at this point. We have to spend the money anyway. Let's just put a second story. So we had to redesign and re-engineer. The solar companies, most of them don't want to deal with that side. So what they end up doing is they pass on those, and there's very few people that will be able to handle dealing directly with the architects, dealing directly with the general contractors and remodelers that a lot of us will team up with a GC or a remodeler because it's just churn and burn work. It's, hey, I got a dormer here, I got an extension here. But you brought up a good point where people are not wanting to knock doors that have solar because they're scared to have to navigate how to deal with the solar. That leaves an opportunity for us to, aside from there, you want to know where the solar companies don't want to knock, where the house needs a roof, because they don't have the right partners to navigate that in every situation. So to get us a roofing contractor that knows how to bundle that up, roll it all into one finance package, teach somebody how to be able to benefit properly on their tax credits. Now you're utilizing solar to leverage building the roof into it and properly taking the tax credits and, you know, and making it a clean transaction for a homeowner. You know, it hurts me to, you know, I love to help other people, but it hurts that I can't do it internally because of how many companies I work with, and it would just hurt my business so much to do it.
Sure.
But to be able to teach other roofing contractors how this works and how it helps, you know, education, I learned very early in my career, is everything. You know, I literally opened up a Black & Decker book one day. I read every spec book. I read, you know, you name it, I read it. I took every training I could because I wanted to know every angle of it, of the roofing industry. And now it's coming full circle because when you understand all of this stuff, you're understanding why these other contractors, these solar contractors, are not able to carry this out if they don't have somebody with the right knowledge. And then you got the solar companies that'll say, all right, well, I'll just bring a guy in that, you know, I'll buy his roofing company. Well, that's not a solution either, because what are you buying? You don't know enough about roofing to know, are you buying a good company?
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's
and
interesting.
It is, and I love it because there's two perspectives. It's like, okay, there's a lot of roofers out there who are looking to get into solar and finding ways, whether they're going to sell or become an installer, and there's a lot of solar trying to meld with roofers. So, and then you look at the industry, and there's a lot of, you know, purchasing and mergers and acquisitions, a lot of stuff going on. But my moral of the story for those of you listening to this is pay attention to the market. Pay attention to your local market. Pay attention to what's going on. Go to events, talk to people, see what's going on. Listen to shows like this, and really trying to see, you know, what's going on, you know, in the market and in the industry, and find ways to, you know, capture unique opportunities when they do present themselves. Every market is going to be a little different, but there's always opportunity out there no matter what. So let's not be afraid of it. Let's embrace it. And first off, if we're not ready for it, let's look at our house first, right? And figure out how to make, if it's a solar company, how do we really make sure our solar company is really dialed in and systemized and doing things great, and then look for the opportunity to add in roofing if that makes sense, right? And you could talk to someone like a Gina to be able to do that. On the flip side, if you're a roofing contractor, you want to add solar, hey, make sure your house is in order first. Make sure your systems and processes, and you're really dialed in as a roofing contractor, and then look to add solar, and then, you know, figure out which pathway is best for you. So if I'm let me just ask you, Gina, as we start to wrap here, but if I'm a roofing contractor, I'm asking from both perspectives. If I'm a roofing contractor looking to get into solar, what would you say is my first couple steps and what the right pathway is?
So I would say you definitely have to get somebody who has the knowledge and capabilities of knowing what they're looking at. So somebody with an electrical background is ideal, or somebody that has a solar background. You definitely need an Ironman on your team that knows how to lead a crew and train a crew properly. You're still talking about, you know, you're dealing with electric. You need to be able to understand, you know, what are you removing, what are you reinstalling, how are you handling that. As far as going about getting new business, I started with the subcontracted installs, like the EPC model first, and realized that I had more opportunity in this service sector. Being able to go out and befriend your competitors and the other solar companies and say, hey, I'm gonna be able to offer you this, and hey, we could help you with the roofing, and we can help you with the system removal and reinstalls. Like, give us the stuff you don't want, and you'll find solar companies out there that will give you the things they don't want. And I have solar companies that are referring us on solar work on a daily basis. I don't advertise for it. So I think that we're talking about two completely separate markets that are in the same field, basically. Like, you know, yes, one's energy, one's waterproofing, but guess what? Everybody is in this same category, and there's two industries that are crossing paths here, but they're just completely disconnected. So trying to get in there and educate these contractors, I mean, it's, these solar contractors is going to be a great avenue for free work. To go about it and be someone's liaison and not their competitor, they're going to be less inclined to work against you. And that's what our business models have always been.
So I think it does make sense to, here's some of the takeaways for me. I'm roofing first, solar second, and now I'm kind of shifting to kind of merge the two. But from a roofer's perspective, if I want to get into solar, it makes sense to, if you're going to become a sales engine or sales entity, that's a good first step. But make sure you find a great install partner, a great EPC partner, somebody that can do a good job. And the key here is communicate. What I found is a lot of these, they get overwhelmed and they can't do everything really well every time in the whole process, and they don't communicate very well. And unfortunately, it can look really bad on your name, because if you're out there selling solar, it's your name on that agreement. You're the person selling yourself, and you're a company. So make sure you find a great great EPC partner. And if you have the ability, okay, you need a master electrician. If you have a service department, we talk about that. One of the things I really teach in my program too is, we need to diversify our business. We got to be able to do residential, service, and commercial, and service is the key to all of that. We need to build service departments. I think every roofing company should have at least somewhat of a service department. If you have that already in place, makes it a little bit easier to kind of work your way into being able to do your own solar installs, or just find a great EPC and be really, really, really good at sales. On the solar side, are you going to be just an installer? Are you just doing sales? Figure out what direction you want to go, and then figure out how to best, either find a great roofing partner that can do the roofing for you, or hire somebody that knows roofing that can help you build out a roofing division for your company. So there's definitely a few ways to go about it, but take a look at your team, take a look at your abilities, and make sure you walk before you run.
Yeah.
I think regardless of the perspective, that is the biggest takeaway here, is walk before you run. I preach this a lot in business. So many of us just want to get out. We get this amazing idea. We just want to go start sprinting right away. And guess what happens? Things fall through the cracks. You break your leg, you fall over, and unfortunately, sometimes you can't even get back up. So in business, especially in both industries, solar and roofing, if you're going to go and add different verticals and add, different deliverables within your company, make sure you walk before you run.
100%. Just stay in your lane. If you're going to go into the sales side, you stay in the sales side. I think that what the biggest benefit, if you're a roofing sales org and you have a good subcontractor, then it makes more sense to stay in that sales end of things. But if you're an installations type of company, then you might want to open up as an EPC and just team up with a really good solar company. Like you said, you make great points there. The biggest advice I can give anybody out here is not to grow too fast, because one thing, we're used to money turning over in the roofing industry a lot quicker than the money turns over in the solar industry. So what I have found is people trying to get involved in this can get hurt very quickly, and it can hurt you in ways that can hurt every other end of your business as well.
Yeah, well said. And I think it's a great piece of advice. Again, circling back, watch the money. Okay, you got to make sure you run your business by the numbers, and you know the numbers, because what you think's in your head and what you think is that big ocean of all this money you can make, it doesn't turn that fast, and you got to make sure you're making the right moves to understand that process and be able to fund that process. This is where being a hustler and being an entrepreneur are separate, right? We got to focus on becoming great entrepreneurs and great leaders for our businesses. Gina, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
No, thanks for having me.
How do we get a hold of you? If we have questions and we want to connect with you further, how do we do that?
Any questions, I would say my best email is going to be Gina, Gina, at roofsforsolar, so ROOFS, FORSOLAR.com. That's going to be probably your best bet. I'm happy to give out my cell phone number as well, 631-831-2690. I can be reached at any time, or anyone can look me up on LinkedIn. Out of New York, it's Gina Farese, Farese. And like I tell the rest of my team on a daily basis, stay hungry, don't get greedy.
Stay hungry. Don't get greedy, man. She jumped right ahead. She must have listened to some shows before because she knew I was going to ask for the golden nugget. So stay hungry and don't get greedy. I love that. It's a great takeaway. And for those of you who are listening, make sure you like, subscribe, share this out, comment. Let's keep the conversation going. And remember, as you grow as a leader and when you focus on growing as a leader, guess what's going to happen? Your business is going to grow as well. So take care, everybody. Big shout out, as usual, to our amazing sponsors who take care of us and help the show exist. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. God bless.